when the Lamb opened the fourth. There's no rapture here. There's a mark here. Ready for Lesson 2 of the University of Equi 72 lessons? Yes. Let's go. Second lesson. Chapters 11 to 20 by Batista Aro, original. Many times, Jesus the Christ. Isn't that how we should call him? Jesus or. He instructs his students, then goes out to teach. This is very important here, because chapter 11 starts with a verse that many people don't pay attention to, and it is. It's essential. He said, Jesus instructs. So here comes an education of a massive scale, the kind of teaching that changes the modus operandi of the regional school. If you want to be more critical, more like Jesus, closer to the original with wisdom, listen well. Regional School of Jesus. So, Jesus first makes a plan for those who instruct. What is it? If I were to teach here about the verb, instruct, if I delve into the Hebrew, I won't get out of this. The goal is to synthesize. So, the word instruct is planning. It's internal study. And then they did the external work. So, first, he instructs. That is, there was a meeting that wasn't necessarily within four walls, but it was for instruction and planning. First, probably this, meeting with the Ness was like that. Internal, because for you to have silence, for you to have acoustics. Isn't it better? For walls for acoustics? You do internal planning. So, even Robson asked me, Professor, we used to have meetings there, there was a board, it was so good. Ah, the same. The school in Ananindua is now there, within four walls, you see, four walls. Then Professor Robson asked me, how should I do it now? I said, how should you do it now? And look, I hadn't even given this lesson, I'm giving it now. The first thing I have to do is have internal planning and then carry out the external work. So, you do the internal work, where? It's not about feeding old, aged students. I don't know how many years they are. No, it's not about giving them what they want. Because there are many students who grow older, what do? Their life is just barbecues, chatting, and laughing. That's their school. And that's not it. It's for you to do internal planning, preparing for the external. Because here, when you see us at the pool table, laughing, it's because we've already done our homework. Here at the mothership, first, we take care of responsibilities, then comes freedom. And even when we're in freedom, we're in responsibility, because we're here. In supreme vigilance. And everything is evolution, even in freedom. Now many schools out there, don't even live responsibility, they only live freedom. So, first, he instructs, did you understand this? First, he instructs, look at this verse, wonderful. He instructed his disciples, prepared, planned, and then they went to do the external work with the schools, as the schools of Jesus should do. Did you understand this? It's important. I can't move forward without you truly understanding this. Can I continue? Shall we do this from today onwards? This here is a symposium, huh? It's already a symposium learning with Jesus. Although the Bibles use the verb preach, but Jesus only taught, you will see some Bibles saying you preached, but you know, right? Preaching is speaking, and then come those verbs I mentioned in the Bible of Nalkokio Lalu. And prophecy, because to prophesy is to preach, to deliver a church sermon. Homiletics, dialectics. Do you know what we are called? Vain philosophies, which they don't even know about the Stoics, Epicureans, and hedonists. We are called vain philosophies, which they don't even know about. You need get the Bible. You'll see. No need to know Nalkokio. Google Stoics, Epicureans, and hedonists. Learn vain philosophy. It's not ex-philosophy. Ex-philosophy is Proverbs 8 of Jesus. Now, they are of the vain philosophies. Because the sermons are constructed with homiletics, hermeneutics, exegesis, and dialectics. And that is vain philosophy. Because that's exactly what the Stoics and Epicurean hedonists loved. Techniques of speaking. Wow. So, who is vain philosophy? You. John, or the Baptist, sends his students from his school to ask, "Shall we go? Are you the one who was to come? Or should we expect someone else?" Jesus replied, "Tell John that the signs prove that I am the Messiah." Jesus then begins to show the crowd who John is, who, with prejudice, they could not see as the Elijah who was to come. Malachi 4. This is very interesting, because when Jesus goes to speak again about John the Baptist, he simply, already in his early teachings, in defending life, the mission of John the Baptist, he shows exactly that. The life of the true church is not within temples. Because, who was John the Baptist? You know that Jesus was even more political because he had a different mission. He would go to the synagogues, couldn't finish his teachings, would start teaching, and they would take him out. Isn't that right? Listen carefully. Now I ask you, when did John or the Baptist ever enter a synagogue? And see how this is very, very spiritual, because John the Baptist is the Elijah who was to come, isn't it, in the spirit of Elijah? It's not Elijah himself, it's in the spirit of Elijah. And who was Elijah? Elijah was this person, who was always in caves, deserts, woods, mountains, streets, squares, villages, someone's house, alone. This is the completely external life of Elijah, because Elijah was not an internal prophet, he is an absolutely external prophet. Do you understand? And John the Baptist was an absolutely external prophet. Then you take Jesus. Jesus is the Moses, the new Moses, because the Messiah was supposed to be a new Moses, a leader, Moses. And who is Moses? And who is Joshua? Isn't he a Moses? Wasn't Moses more internal, more political? Wasn't he more about the tabernacle, leadership, connecting with the people, dialogues? Isn't that right? And Jesus is more like that. Look how interesting. It's completely perfect. The spirit of Elijah in John the Baptist. The spirit of Moses in Jesus. Keep this information, Moses and Elijah, because we will get there soon. Right? Before moving forward, I wanted to make it clear that there was a doubt here about John the Baptist. I mentioned this in the Bible of the Code newspaper, because if that voice were true, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased," when Jesus came out of the baptism waters. But it was an outside baptism, which I revealed in the first lesson, wasn't it? Was it an external or internal baptism? Was it in the synagogue or outside the synagogue? And I ask, did John the Baptist ever enter a synagogue in his life? No. Yeah, just think about it. So, Elijah is baptizing Moses. Then a voice comes saying, "This is my beloved Son." If they had heard that voice, they wouldn't have any doubt, including Elijah himself. Do you think John the Baptist would have doubt? John the Baptist had no doubt. Or did he? He did. He's human. And when he sends his students to go and ask if he was the Messiah, it becomes C. Of course, it becomes evident that there was no voice, because if there were a voice, God would be buying people's faith through direct interference. So, what voice is that? It's the voice of poetry, of the writer. And that's the problem with the Bible. People take the Bible, it's coming. There was a voice that came from heaven. It's written here. I believe in the Word of God. It's written. But if it were like that, my child, do you see how difficult it is? How the Bible is a trap? You have to understand the Bible. People don't understand the Bible. Ready to move forward? Jesus says, "Did you think a man of God would be older? Look, how beautiful it is." Would he be richer, dressed in fine clothes? Because who was John the Baptist? Was he young? He was young, around his age, a cousin. Do you know what that means? It's around his age. In his 30s. So, does that mean They don't accept because of age prejudice, because he wasn't rich, because he didn't have fine clothes, because he wasn't sitting in the temples and palaces of the system. They were mistaken. So, still in the Old Contract, which is Old Testament, Jesus says, of all those born of women, he was the greatest of the first contract. Now comes a wonder. Everyone reads, the kingdom of God is taken by force. But after all, who can explain this? Reveal. What is this expression? The kingdom of God is taken by force. What is this expression? Let's go. In the example, we have the proverb, you will be condemned by the works of your neighbor. You know that, right? The standard elevates. The big question is, do you, by any chance, know what is taken by force? You know. By effort. Oh, really? Let's see if it really is. And here, says Jesus, starting from John. Guys, what a beautiful thing. Due to the quality of your work and humility, the required standard has now increased to enter the kingdom. In my Bible, it doesn't say this here, but that's what's there semantically, my friend. You would understand that the saying I'm talking about only has three forms. Either a dove has to appear at your door, at your window, now, and say, believe in Aquino, then the dove will speak. Believe in Aquino, or you have to take a course in semantics within Portuguese for text interpretation. Then you will start to understand what I understand. Or number 3, or you believe without really understanding. Which of the 3 do you want? Because, let's understand that Jesus, look, God is so just. He takes so much into account what the person was. Look at what God did. God took Clarice, John the Baptist, his life. John the Baptist was so devoted, so righteous. And he lived until his death, died young because of his loyalty. His work was so beautiful. I am afraid of this God. Seriously. You have to hope that Aquino sins. So that Aquio is fragile in some areas, some things. Do you know why I'm saying this? Because this God is so formidable that if he sees someone being very loyal to him, doing things very well, and the best, much better than all the others, with more excellence than all the others, he changes the standard. He is a dynamic God. He doesn't have just one word. He changes the standard according to the excellence of the free. God is complicated. Look at what God did. God took the life of John the Baptist and said, from now on, the standard has risen. That's what the text is saying. The kingdom is taken by force. The kingdom is not taken by force. The kingdom is taken by force from now on. What he meant is, from the life of John the Baptist, so exemplary. Whoever is not like him, at his level, won't even enter. Did you understand or not? It's amazing, isn't it? And this corroborates with that maxim that only the former member of the whole world, that the judgment he will make is you, your conscience. And it has to do not with the Bible, not with a list of sins, not sins, the martyrology, but it has to do with the one who is by your side. It has to do with the one who, within the same belief, at the same level of relative truth, was more faithful than you. If someone, on your level, pay attention to what I'm going to say, on your level, in your degree of evolution, of truth, of faith, as faithful as you, on your level, that will be the standard. Do you understand where the bar is set? The bar is set by the one who was the best on the level. Terrible, huh? So, it needs to say that they did not receive John the Baptist, did not accept him as Elijah, they doubted him. But Jesus concludes by saying, you can't see where God is, because where is God always? In unlikely men and always in unlikely men, outside the system. Who is John the Baptist? He is an Elijah outside, completely outside. So, it's not that from today you have to eat honey and live in the desert. But you will have to have the excellence that he had, to live loyal to the truth which you believe in until death. Otherwise, you won't even get in there. And because of what? Because of a man named John the Baptist. Do you understand or not? John the Baptist is closing the Old Testament. The Old Testament ends at the cross, right? Isn't that what we say? But the Old Testament, in terms of prophecy, ends with John the Baptist. He is the last to baptize. In this baptism of the Old Covenant, it's over. And when I'm talking about baptism, I'm not talking about water. So, in verses 15 to 30, Jesus begins a pastoral, which is correction, warning that the more religious cities, look at this, valued his work less. Then the non-religious cities, the pagan cities. Then comes the harsh truth that no church can preach. He said, "What a word, huh? I tell you that on the day of judgment there will be less severity for Sodom than for the more religious cities." Do you understand this or not? You saw that the connection in the chapter, the Bible, was divided incorrectly into chapters and verses, right? But it turns out that at some moments the context goes well. Look at this context. It goes very well. Because I just mentioned the standard that was raised of excellence. And you must remember another text, which soon we will get there. If your righteousness does not exceed that of the scribes, that is to say, the righteousness of a Pharisee was the standard. Then John the Baptist comes and sets the new standard. Do you understand? Now, the standard of the Jews in the religious cities was that of Sodom. But how so? Less strict. Because when judgment fell upon Sodom, they repented. There are no records. But for Jesus to have mentioned Sodom, it's because it's clear that Sodom repented. That many people from Sodom, from a completely debauched life, they repented and said, if we could have known what the Hebrews knew, we would be better. Do you understand, Lau? Look at God's standard. The religious cities will be judged by Sodom. So I ask you, does it fall into the same or not? What am I talking about? John the Baptist. Isn't it? I am happy before the immaterial Creator that the wise are, in fact, the little ones. It's interesting because here comes that maxim that everyone quotes, that God hid from the wise, you know? But who are the wise ones, then, that he is referring to? What he is actually talking about there is those who truly value the truth. Those who value the truth are almost never the religious ones. Then he says, no one can come to the Father. Who is the Father? Is it no one goes or no one comes? Except through me. My yoke is much lighter than the yoke of the religious system. Yoke. Is this sharing shoulder to shoulder of the oxen in the threshing of wheat? And carrying the clothes, right? The women also carried, sharing the weight of the clothes to wash in the river. And this yoke of Jesus is light. And see how Jesus always uses the everyday life, right? What they lived, the day-to-day. All the women knew very well what a game was, and the men also knew very well what a game was. It was something everyone had in their life. If Jesus were here now, what would he use? The smartphone, which is what everyone uses. He was talking about a yoke because it's what everyone understood. Isn't that right? Today he would say something like, it's heavier than, I don't know, terabytes. I don't know, petabytes. It's lighter than a gigabyte. He would say, I don't know. Chapter 12. On a Sabbath, the Pharisees from the Bible create a problem by judging Jesus' disciples who were picking and eating on the holy day. This is very important. I want you to notice today, in our 10-chapter journey, how many times Jesus is walking, living his life, fulfilling his mission, and who interrupts him? And I ask you, is it or is it not the same Spirit? Today, keep watching until the end. I want you to observe. Open your eyes. Then, here comes the problem. Your disciples are picking and eating on the Sabbath. Then, Jesus cites David, showing that truth is above dogmas. The series The Chosen illustrates this very well, right? It depicts the day when David ate the bread he wasn't supposed to eat, according to the law. Because what is greater? The dogma or the human need? As we sing here at X, that beautiful song, tradition cannot be greater than people. That's what Jesus is teaching. And to further ignite religious fury, he heals on the Sabbath a man everyone they knew, the man with the withered hand. And it's interesting because he had just been questioned about the Sabbath. And precisely because he was provoked about the Sabbath, he took the opportunity and said, "You know what? I'm going to heal this man on the Sabbath." It's as if Jesus acts like this. He is walking and following his mission. It's not him who provokes the religious. It's the religious who come to provoke him. The religious come to provoke him. And they disturb his peace, and that of his disciples. And they create a public scene. And Jesus has to get out of this public scene in front of everyone. Then Jesus responds with justice. It's not revenge, it's justice, and gives them evil for evil, serpent. What does Jesus do? Jesus takes the opportunity. Since you did this now, I'm going to heal on the Sabbath. Do you see how Jesus is? I was quiet. I was just going to teach. Since you came to disturb me because my disciples are eating and threshing the wheat on the Sabbath. So, I'm going to heal several people on the Sabbath now so that you become even more scandalized. See? So, is this a provocation? You will. Look, today there's something I want to ask of you in this lesson. Number 2, which will be recorded forever, until Jesus comes on our 7. I want to implore you to pay attention to one thing. How does Jesus reflect? How does he judge? What is his balance? You will know God. Theology is not knowing God. You will know who your God is. This is original theology. See how Jesus operates. He was quiet. They provoked him. So he goes and heals on the Sabbath. Pay attention. Now, vengeful and full of ego, they, indeed vengeful, began to conspire to kill Jesus from that day, says Matthew. Jesus healed many sick people, personally intervening to prove he was the Messiah. That's what you will see in your Bible. Then, the Pharisees call him a Satanist. Do you see? Again, he is on his mission, and they come to provoke him. They come to provoke him, saying he did this through witchcraft and a pact with the devil. Isn't that right? Knowing Jesus. About the reality of the children of the rabbis, of pastors and religious leaders of that region, Jesus replied saying, I do not cast out by Satan. But you are Satan, when you cast your children out of the house for not obeying your dogmas. So this is very interesting, because look at what Jesus does. Knowing Jesus that those religious leaders expelled the children who did not obey from their homes. Imagine in that world, which, unlike today, did not have much support. You know, excluded from home, excluded from society, because once the religious society knew that the rabbi father excluded them, who would accept them? They would be marginalized. As Chuza says, out in the red light districts, they would end up falling into prostitution. They would end up falling into crime, catching a disease. So he knew that those people who were calling him a Satanist, who heals by Beelzebub, who casts out demons by the chief of demons, were expelling their children from home. That, indeed, is Satan. That, indeed, is dividing the family. That, indeed, is doing the devil's work. Do you understand? What I'm saying is that today, gentlemen, 20 centuries later, it's the same thing. Usually, children of religious leaders who call the healer a Satanist have their children expelled from home or lost. Morally, ethically, religiously. And they are always the opposite of what their parents are. Aren't they? Isn't it the same thing? Today? See, they come here to call us Wilson Altair. They come to call me this and that, to call you this and that, to condemn the philosophy, Van, which they don't even know what it is. But look at their children. And just answer me, why are the parties full of young people who right after the euphoria comes the dysphoria? Singing church songs, but with hatred, they don't return to the church. Because they have hatred for their father, who is a leader, pastor, leader this, leader that. Why? Reactionaries. Reactionaries. And here, see that there was the same reactionarism. And when Jesus does this, they are forced to shut up. But Jesus doesn't stop. And what they just did, in fact, is blasphemy against the perfect spirit, which is attributing to the devil, to evil, what is of God, what is good. That is to say, he even says that what they did is blasphemy against the Spirit and that it is unforgivable. That what they just did to him publicly is unforgivable. See how Jesus responds. You will observe the behavior, the modus operandi of Jesus, how he responds, corresponds. In another region, some Bibles ask him to perform signs to believe in him. Look at this. It's impressive. When someone shouts, Son of David, help me, crawls asking for help, the woman with the issue of blood, which has a whole context that Jesus knows what the reality is of a woman with a continuous flow, crawling among the Pharisees. He knows, so he has compassion. He always sees what? And then X, once again, correctly in the originals, teaches you that everything is intention, motivation, and desire. Because this is Jesus' agenda, the intention. Look at Jesus' agenda. They are approaching him asking for a sign. But he doesn't perform signs all the time. He didn't perform signs all the time. But when they miss the sign that he sees, the intention, he doesn't give it. And here at X you say you are Christians, but you never understand this. Because when I am at the meetings, when I am here in this simple chat, which is, actually, what is this chat? I don't know if you know, but I was talking here to the young people, to the folks at the mothership. I was telling the folks at the mothership that soon, the podcast interviewer who interviewed Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump recently interviewed Mark Zuckerberg on Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Listen carefully. The Jew, Mark Zuckerberg. And he put on the glasses of the future and revealed. Watch it there. Soon you will put on a lens or glasses or a button in the brain. Listen to what I'm going to say. And even you X's will just put on the glasses or just the lens. Or just the glasses of the future, right, which will be the lens. You will be able to attend the meeting. They're in Aracaju, they're in Fortaleza, they're in Para, while being where you are. There won't be string art anymore. This here, what you're seeing here, look at the string art there. Let me show the little people there. Look, that's over. You will put it on, and everything you do with your hand, everything you do with your body is represented in a replica of yourself, in the clone, in the hologram, or in an avatar you choose. in a holographic world that you are inside as if you were there participating. You will be able to participate in X's meetings from a distance. Do you understand me? I am talking about a reality 5, 10 years from now. All of you will be in this 5, 10 years from now. And what you don't understand is that here, when they ask for signs, the intention is wrong. Whereas Jesus distributed signs all day and would get tired, exhausted, as shown in the show Tired, when the intention was right. The same God. And I, when I am live, see the intention of people. And if the person comes with humility, I can spend hours teaching and answering them. But if there is no humility, the treatment is different. And that doesn't make me arrogant. Because when Jesus speaks of blasphemy against the Spirit, is he the owner of the truth? He is the truth. But it's Jesus. But Jesus responds to intention. And today we are in his name, representing his kingdom. Ambassadors of special agents of in his authority given to us, continuing his work until the end. And moreover, we are in the final moment of the mission. We are in the final moments in the grand finale of his mission. Does anyone understand that suddenly you will pass the baton to Jesus because the last one to carry out the mission is the one who hands over the baton? You know that. Paul thought it was like that, right? Paul thought that in that generation he said that the unmarried should not marry. What did Paul think? Paul thought that in a few days Jesus would descend just as he ascended. He would say, "Thank you, Paul, you did an excellent job. Let's start the kingdom." 2,000 years have passed. Do you know who is going to pass the baton to Jesus, the scepter? Us. It's our generation. We are in the name of Jesus, so we do as he did. And how did he do it? By observing intentions. So trust your teacher. If he is wise, trust your teacher when he sees the intentions. There are people who will reach the mothership. I will give them space. There are people I will not give. There are people I will pay attention to, and there are people I will not. Just by her words of appreciation or not. Just by her actions. Is truth a priority in her life or not? That's secondary. Do you understand me? So, start being like Jesus. Because I, Professor Act, have always tried to be like Jesus. That's how I am. To the humble, all my attention. To bad intentions, I give no attention. Understood? So here it is. In another region, they are asking for signs. Then he says, generation, full of wickedness in conscience. For you, the only sign has already been given. Jonah, 3 days and 3 nights, 3 darknesses in the belly of the great fish. Folks, the words of Jesus are very severe. Seriously, the original Jesus is severe. Because the original Jesus says the following, you will be judged by Sodom. John Baptist Mount Standard. Either you strive like him or you don't even enter. And now do you know what he says? The pagans and sinners of Nineveh, who will indeed repent, will judge you on the great day. The queen of the south will rise in judgment against you, because she came from afar to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And there is someone here who is greater than Solomon, who was the wisest man. Do you know what that is? He is saying, I am greater than Solomon. The Queen of Sheba came from the ends of the earth to hear wisdom and philosophy. Did she value it or not? Look at the journey she made. And she was saved because of it. Because salvation, soteriology, eternity, eternal life, immortality, kingdom means to sell. Sell. What doesn't cost me doesn't value me. What doesn't cost me doesn't value me. That's the maxim. What doesn't cost me doesn't value me. She went from the ends of the earth to hear Solomon, and she was saved. In other words, That's the effort being mentioned. The kingdom is taken by force. It's not just about making an effort. It's about doing everything. In case you haven't understood yet, I'll explain. There's a moment here that I haven't shown, but it's in your original Codex Bible, where Jesus is talking about the pearl. Do you know what he says? He says that if a man knows that something is truly valuable, we can talk about a diamond. He says, like this, a man would sell everything he has to possess it. Do you know what he is saying? He is saying that when a person truly wants to reach the kingdom and understand spirituality, they would give up everything they have. But what he is saying is, yes, over at the Universal Church, someone can be saved. Because over at the Universal Church, even if deceived and wronged, someone who thinks they are with Jesus and the truth sells all their properties and goes there and gives everything to the bishop. That person is saved. No, they are foolish. They are foolish. But in truth, relatively, theirs is wise. They are foolish because outside of their relative truth, there is an absolute truth that you know. And if they knew it, they would be ashamed, just as many of you are ashamed of the past you have. But there, within their relative truth, they gave everything for the truth. What is this he's talking about Sodom? What is this he's talking about Nineveh? What is this he's talking about? About John the Baptist. The whole time he is conveying the same message in other words. Jesus is teaching the same thing in other words. Do you understand? So, the big question is, what does it cost you? It's no use saying, I love the studies from Acre. Watch all day. Maybe you've always loved studying and watching and listening. That's you. That's not an effort. I go to all the meetings. Do you love to travel? If I didn't know EXO, I would be traveling for anything else. The big question is, what do you do for the truth that you've never done for anything? For anyone. Can you understand us or not? Amen. Jesus, your mother and your brothers are wanting to speak with you. He says, all these students of mine are my mother and my brothers. What is he trying to say? A child is like a son to me. Young people, teenagers are like brothers to me. A little older are like uncles to me. A little older are like grandparents to me. A little older are like mothers and fathers to me. They are a spiritual family. Spiritual family. This is the true ecclesia. What is church? Is it a temple? No, church is the spiritual formation of all the people who want to do God's will. And what is God's will? This that I am presenting here. So, these are the brothers. But why do this with Mary, poor thing? Why do this with your brothers? Which in the original I showed you here can mean cousin or brother. It's ambiguous, the Hebrew term. It doesn't matter. Your cousins or brothers are out there. So what do I teach in the original Codex? That Mary still didn't fully understand Jesus' work. And Mary wanted the first, I am your mother. I'm worried about you, not eating or drinking well, teaching and traveling. And I want to come in there. There's a crowd teaching through the window, and I want to talk to you. I am your mother. The one saying this is your family. Attend to your family first. Then Jesus, seeing the intention of his biological family, you don't understand, do you? Who understands? Who is with me? He is seeing the intention of his biological family. He knows that the heart of his biological family is full of ego. Still, because they want to be first. We are the first, us first. So he takes advantage of their ego to give them and everyone a lesson. Saying, my family. Are all these here who are sitting and listening to me? Because it's not sitting and listening to you that saves you. Look at how many people are sitting and listening here. Look at that. It's not sitting and listening that saves. But many times, valuing means sitting and listening. It doesn't mean that just because someone sits and listens, they are valuing the moment. But very likely. Now, there's no way to say I value, I do the will. What is God's will? God's will was for them to be there, listening to what he has to say. Wasn't his time on earth short? He had little time. Hey, forget everything you do in life and listen to me. How am I going to listen? How am I going to leave everything I do in life? This Jesus is crazy. Can you imagine? 2,000 years ago, would you leave everything? Would you leave your life, your bills, your debts, to value the words of someone named Jesus? Professor Jesus is teaching there. Then you stop everything to listen to the words of Professor Jesus. Do you see how the filter is? Do you see the filter? He says, "This is my spiritual family." Chapter 3. On that same day, Jesus left the house and sat by the sea. Soon, a crowd gathered. Now, let's see him teach by the sea. And here is something you need to understand. Jesus is wise, who remembers our wonderful meeting that we held. He is the wisdom we held in Vittoria, Espirito Santo, full of people listening to me. On the other lawn, was there a sea? Wasn't it in front of the sea? Yes. But what we experienced in The Chosen from the seventh season of real life, was it or not? It was in a sea that we call here near the mothership of calm, the sea we call Bahia. People say, let's do the same. Jesus, take him to the waves. How is Jesus going to teach competing with the waves? Is it possible with the noise of the sea? So he was here in a calm Bahia, able to speak, because there was a crowd listening to him. Imagine speaking from the top of the boat. He taught about the metaphor of the seed, taught about the mustard seed. And this issue of the mustard seed is interesting, because Jesus clearly calls the one who spreads it the devil. In this metaphor of the mustard seed and the seeds, he clearly teaches who the devil is. He says the one who sows discord, who divides, who spreads, that is the devil. This is the devil. What is the devil? It's a quality, it's an adjective. Quality of evil. Who are you? The one who spreads discord, the one who scatters people, the one who divides. So, see, this is very important because in the text itself it is revealed what it is. It's a title of human attitude. You see, he also spoke about the metaphor of the treasure. As explained here, verse by verse, same original cosmic. That's why I say this, because all of this will likely be at the start or end of the 4th edition. I haven't decided yet. The objective is not to make the Bible again within the same Bible. You know, right? The essence of our little book is the formation of Universal X. Postgraduate, graduated from those old 322 degrees, one of the 200. So for you, what is it? For you, it's postgraduate. But for those who never graduated, it's the new University X, a great opportunity. Then, leading there, he arrived in his city, where they said, "How can he be so wise, being the son of a carpenter? Isn't he the son of Mary? Don't we know his brothers or cousins? Where did he study all of this?" I love this. What is the source of everything he says? Did you know they asked this to Jesus? What is the source of study he talks about? Where did he get this from? Who did he learn from? Because there were two things that left the people who knew him since childhood astonished. First, the signs he performed, inexplicable. Second, the wisdom of speaking. How could he teach so well, explain everything, and know everything? Where does all this come from? Upon knowing that the people of his town said this, he spoke for everyone to hear. Hold on, turn up the music. A prophet, a master of wisdom, is valued all over the world except where he was born, because of the intimacy that blinds. What is it that blinds? Intimacy. And that's where you know the prophet, he only has honor. The prophet has no honor in his own home. That's not it. What it's saying is, the prophet, the teacher, he is honor, he is valued. Honor here means being valued. He is valued all over the world, wherever he goes. But where was he born? For those who knew him since childhood, he has no value. So Jesus, look at how Jesus reacts. Can you write that down? Jesus reacts Write down the modus operandi Jesus style. Write down how Jesus reacts. It's very important that everyone writes down Jesus' reaction. You have to learn the behavior of your God. Look at how he is behaving. He did not perform miracles there in his city because of their lack of appreciation. Interesting, right? So we've already seen here in just a few chapters 2 things that Jesus doesn't like. He doesn't like them to the point of not performing any signs. The first is when they ask. You don't ask for a sign because whoever asks is testing Jesus, testing God. To test is to scrutinize. God judges you, not you judge God. That's why this thing that churches teach, to put God to the test, is the most egotistical and diabolical thing that exists. To put God to the test. To test me was God. Even he asked. Look at the context. Go study. You're doubting. It is God who tests us, not us testing God. The one who manages to corner God is the Catholic, with images. So listen well. With respect, I say, he did not perform the signs when they asked, and number 2, when they were very close. Family, known since childhood. Because in both cases there was lack of faith, disbelief. And before you start talking cliches, it's because without faith it's possible to thank God. Don't keep quoting that cliche. Let go of that cliche. Grab the glass and look. Get me 2 glasses over there. Glass 1, empty glass. Empty it, okay? Empty it, or you're going to say, this X university here is for you to empty the glass. You're not going to spend these 72 classes responding with cliches. While I'm teaching, pouring new water, new wine, new oil, you're there. Oh, it's such and such text. Oh, such and such verse. Oh, it's in the Bible. Shall we empty this glass? Yep. Am I trying to say? Jesus doesn't perform signs. What are signs? Interference. God doesn't interfere when there is no faith. But why? Because a person who is going to see the signs is someone who needs the sign to believe. Like those people who had the ego to think they already knew, to think they already believed. So no sign was given to them. Do you see what a disgrace that God hates in a person is? The one who needs to empty the glass? Do you? No. Do you know where the disgrace is? When a person thinks they already know that they already believe. And then comes the stupidity of treating it like this. Show me then. You've seen many people in the chat or sending emails to me or approaching, even in your schools. Show me then. Prove it to me then. I'll go live and you prove it to me. Do we see this spirit or not always? This is the spirit that is no good. Jesus doesn't even pay attention to that. He doesn't respond. Jesus stops to listen. And there are people listening now saying these things were beautiful. No, you're not understanding me. Oh, professor, oh, teacher, you're not supposed to pay attention to these people. I like to be polite. I like to be diplomatic. I like to treat everyone well. You're not supposed to pay attention to these people. Do you know how you answer them? By not attending to them. Because what they need is reprimand. He who is exalted, let him be. This is the cure for the exalted. The cure for the exalted is ignorance. Ignore the ignorant. Paul taught this. We will learn it later on. Isn't it here? So Jesus would stay there yielding. This is where the Christian appears. This is where the Christian concedes. Oh, I'll yield. I'll perform miracles because I need them to believe in me. Because Jesus already knew that if it wasn't pure from the beginning, it wouldn't be later. Chapter 14. Herod, who had imprisoned Jesus, ordered John to be beheaded, although he didn't want to because he liked John. One thing we need to make clear is that Herod liked John. We keep blaming Herod, but Herod liked John. It's just that he made an oath. He gave his word. His word had power. He said, look, ask me for whatever you want. And this is interesting because there is a whole collusion of conspiracists and church dropouts and even church whores who always hate Pilate and Herod. But Herod didn't want to kill John the Baptist, and neither did Pilate want to kill Jesus. Isn't that right? Because there is a hatred towards the political class. I know that Brazilian politics is disgusting. Hatred to the rich. Hey, 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 hey. If you were a politician and were rich, you would make many mistakes. The same. Who are we to judge? So, if a bomb now killed all the politicians, someone would have to be a politician. Maybe you? And then? So look, let's listen and understand. Herod didn't want to kill John the Baptist. He took no pleasure in it. But because of his oath and the evil plan of whom? Of Herod, who also used his daughter for this. And the daughter was no saint, because the daughter had no problem seeing John the Baptist's head on a platter. Which is absurd, right? A girl should be horrified to see that. To take pleasure in that means she is an evil person who enjoys watching a head. Jesus was very upset, even though he knew it would be like this. His human side made him feel the loss of John the Baptist, his cousin, friend, and teacher, very deeply. He was a teacher. And here we bid farewell to John the Baptist. As revealed in the Codex, Jesus had to multiply loaves and fishes because the crowd that followed him on foot came from afar. Who was there? Children, the elderly, the sick, people who came to be healed. They were already dying, could die, and had been more than 2 days without eating. And always make it clear, it was not welfare, nor leftism, nor charity, but a real necessity. And after feeding them, he presented to them the bread of life, the truth, and seeing that few valued it, he said, "What is the only bread that really matters? Wisdom. The immaterial bread, I am the bread that came down from heaven, but this bread." The audience drops. When it got to this point, they didn't value it as much. Interesting, right? But isn't it the same? Hasn't it always been like this? Isn't the human being the same? Always? In all times? Later, Jesus asked them to cross to the other side, saying he would meet them. In the early morning, they thought they saw a ghost. See how the mysticism of ghosts existed. But it was Jesus walking on the sea. Jesus said, "Take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid." Where did Peter want to go? Where Jesus was. This faith made the Supreme Master say, "Come, Peter." I want you to pay close attention. Answer loudly. Was Peter the only one on the boat? No. Awe. But who took the initiative to say, "If it's you, I'll go too"? Peter. Do you know what that is? Leadership. Suddenly, Jesus is there walking on the water. The water turned to glass, and the body has these powers. Didn't I answer this question the other day? It's answered here on the Luxembourg Alex program. It's a mental issue. It's a power that we have. If you don't believe in this, go study. Go see the Guinness Book, watch documentaries, History Channel. Go see what's the name? Discovery. Then you'll discover that there are people who climb a knife ladder. Do you know what a ladder made with sharp knives is? That if you throw a watermelon, it splits into 5 pieces, and the person climbs it barefoot in India. Tell me if it's not the same technique as walking on water. Who walks across live coals without burning their feet? This exists. Yes or no? Have you ever seen a truck run over a man and the man not have any organs in hemorrhage? And then Jesus did this. Not in a mystical way, but as a lesson, a learning experience. So, who speaks up first? Peter. He's good, right? Guffaw. And then he says, it's funny how Peter is spoken of poorly in churches. The denier. Denier. Check out the Bible of Costa. You'll see if he's a denier. He's brave even when he's denying, because he was denying like a spy. He was being an undercover agent. He was lying precisely to stay close to Jesus. He was in espionage. He was in character. He was Jesus' girl there. He was in a courtyard lying that he didn't know Jesus to be able to stay close to Jesus' trial. I mean, what they say is denial was actually courage. Because the only time you can lie in life, is to save someone. But it's not to save the child hiding under the bed, hence his involvement. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a mission in the name of Jesus. Do you know what it is? Do you know what a macro GT coming up is? There's context. It will not. Here it is. Look. Peter 15, where Jesus was. This faith made the Supreme Master say, "Come, Peter." Peter managed to control his mind, self-hypnotize, and make his physical weight light, like foam, like a feather, like a cotton ball. But upon feeling the wind, his weight turned to lead. The wind came, fear set in. The wind hit, fear set in. He recalled, hypnosis ended. 1, 2, 3, hypnosis. He returned. When he returned, but am I heavy? But do I sink? When he remembered that he sinks, guess what? He sank. He started to sink. Then, when he started to sink, he said, "Save me, Lord." Oh, what fear! Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him, saying, "You just had to not doubt, Peter." When they got into the boat, the wind ceased. All the students said, "Truly, he is the Son of God." It's easy for others to say, right? But who is it that jumped into the water? But when Jesus, I want you to remember this, when Jesus later chooses Peter to be the teacher, because the others will also be teachers. But when he is going to be the teacher in charge of him, they make faces, pout, twisted noses. But who is it that all the time, in 1260 days, takes the initiative? Who is it that has courage? Who is it that is always by the side? Peter, do you understand me or not? Matthew 15. Again, Bible scholars, divine theologians, from where? Look where they come from. From where? From the church headquarters, right? From the Vatican. They disturb the peace of Jesus, saying, "Let's see what they are going to do now." Your students eat without washing their hands. It's impressive. They are looking for some mistake to devalue the teachings of Jesus, to reduce the crowd that follows him. Because we have to understand that the 400 synagogues that were in Jerusalem were suffering losses, increasing the number of people. So there is a real threat of civil war. There is a real threat of people calling him a person. There is a real threat of Jesus actually being an impostor and taking power from Rome, or taking their power from Annas and Caiaphas and replacing the temple, or taking over the temple, or placing a priest in Annas' place. Do you understand? There are several real threats. No one knows which Jesus. Which Jesus? What is the intention? Jesus can see their intention, but they cannot see Jesus' intention. Why can't the person who is in the flesh, in the ego, in the world, see the intention? Do you know? Because they only see you with their own measure. Because they are weak, they think you are weak. Because they are corrupt, they think you are corrupt. Because they are unfaithful, they think you are unfaithful. Have you noticed that people treat others like this? When a person is not, they treat others. Oh, but every man is flawed. But every man does this. But no one is a saint. They always come with these phrases because they judge you with their own measure. Because if they were in your place, then when they thought Jesus was going to stage a military coup, a religious coup, a political coup, they were thinking this, judging Jesus like that, because that's what they would do. If they had the support that Jesus had, the network, if they had the portfolio that Jesus had, if they had the capital, the reach, they would stage a coup. And they couldn't understand what was with Jesus, who had all that and did nothing, which is like what people do to me today. They send me messages here. "Professor, you could be a councilman. Professor, what do you think? But professor, with the talent you have, you could be doing this and that." They don't understand. They don't see. Who is Jesus? Jesus is the King of Kings. Jesus had the capacity, support, and backing to stage a coup, not just in the state of Israel, like Caesar, to dominate the world. But he didn't use that capacity. He reached the line, used everything that was within the line. Outside the line, he did not step, because my kingdom is not of this world. Because the time will come when it will be. But it's not now, not in this way. And then the master refutes, using Isaiah, saying, "They worship with hands and mouths." But the heart has always been far from the truth. It's not the mouth that makes a man pure, but what comes out of the mouth, because a man speaks what comes from the heart. Again, Jesus silences them. So, the concern of the religious is always this. See there, here it's the ring. They come here. What is the concern? It's the design that's in the back. It's the word I said. It's the title. They can't see beyond. It's the symbol. It's the clothing. It's the name. It's philosophy. But why? Why? But why? Why? But why? Why? It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. But why? And they can't understand that the problem was never there, even if it's in the Bible. Because when they say, your disciples are doing on the Sabbath, are they or not? Is the issue of the Sabbath in the Bible? When Jesus and criticized by them because his disciples don't wash their hands before eating. Is it or is it not in the Bible? Yes. Look how interesting. So it's in the Bible. And when people come here to incriminate the eagle or incriminate the one who teaches the truth out there in the squares, in the news cycle of the X, outside when the school is gathered, will they quote or not quote what's in the Bible? And is it or is it not in the Bible? It's in the Bible. But they can't understand the intention, the spirit of the Bible. Because although it's in the Bible that you can't on the Sabbath, although it's in the Bible that you have to wash your hands, the important thing is not the dirty hand. It's the dirty heart. Do you understand? Leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. It's Lebanon. He's going there to Hezbollah. Listen carefully. A Canaanite woman from there came to him and shouting, "Where is she from? She is a pagan. Lord, Son of Life, have mercy on me. My daughter is possessed and is suffering greatly." Imagine a Jesus who every day when he gets up to work on his mission is taught by his own, of his nation, of his faith, of his belief, of his scripture, Bible. Always incriminating, scrutinizing with bad intentions, with bad intentions, with bad intentions. Then, when he leaves his boundaries, when he leaves Israel and goes there to the neighboring country, what does he find? The woman never had a sign, nothing. The woman never saw anything, had nothing. But she said, Messiah doesn't know the Bible or Torah, didn't study theology, never went to church. Where's the music? Man? Do you understand? This woman is asking for something she doesn't even know if she'll receive. Did she receive it? Did she have any sign? She heard about the signs he performed there and already believed in him. And she didn't say, if you are, she said, Son of David. What Jesus' disciples took 42 months to understand, she understood without knowing Jesus. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly, but Jesus did not answer her a word. Then his disciples came to him and urged him, send her away, for she keeps crying out after us. See how people are, isn't it? Sometimes like the teachers from the past. Why is Professor Aker wasting time with this? Why waste time with this? Notice that Jesus' students still lack discernment. They couldn't realize that she called him Son of David. Isn't her spirit already revealed her pure intention? Jesus says, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. Do you know what this is here? Jesus is fulfilling the contract. He is of the Word. He is the Word. He is fulfilling the contract. First, he came for. The woman came, worshipped on her knees, and said, help me break the contract. He said, it is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. He is quoting a proverb of the time. But she said, yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Woman, great is your faith. Let it be as you desire. And at that very moment, her daughter was healed. To understand this passage, which no church or Bible can explain, shall we reveal it? Jesus, the Christ, tests that woman by saying, I came for the Jews. The contract I came to fulfill. But as the Jews reject me, do not value, every time a pagan believes in me, comes closer to me, the bread that was for them, Israel, and the crumbs that were for you, become bread for you, pagans, and crumbs for Israel. He arrived there with the contract, the realization of bread for Israel. I am here in ancient Lebanon, Tyre. Let's go to Israel. Here, if there is anything, it's crumbs. But the woman already arrives calling him Messiah. And knowing God timeless in flesh, that he came exactly to be rejected. Knowing that the prophets all said that the contract he came to fulfill would end with blood on the cross. Knowing that the temporality ahead. You know what this is? What a beautiful thing. Revealed. This is anticipation. In 2 moments, I see the God of anticipation. Anticipation is only possible with timelessness. He is the timeless one. Eros, Chronos. Listen, the first time he did this. 29 years, it's something, his mother says. Can you do this at this wedding now? My time has not yet come. And he anticipates. At his mother's request. The messianic work that was yet to begin. How did he know it was yet to begin and that the prophet said he would do that? The man who turns water into blood, water into wine. What did he do? He anticipated. And now, again here, Altar Wilson, he is anticipating again. It's not for him to take care of this woman. He is to take care of this woman after the cross. He is to take care of this woman after the resurrection. He is to take care of this woman, Paul, Peter, James, John, after the new contract that was to come, called the New Testament. But he anticipates the Testament because of her. A Lebanese woman who simply says, I believe. And as she says, I believe in you as the Messiah, something that not even a Jew believed. An Arab. Do you understand or not, my God, people? He is saying the following. You already have to write this down. The bread, that was for Israel, and the crumb, that was for the Arab, is now bread for the Arab and crumb for Israel. My God. And then I see the justice of God. What kind of God is this who anticipates the times and the contract for someone? This professor, isn't this a privilege? It's not a privilege because it is within what was already meant to be. The prophets already anticipated. The prophets already said it would be like this. The only thing he did is because of this woman, because of this person. In this context, and for now, I will bring forward what is there for her. Because he knows that he will leave. Soon he will die, resurrect. She would not have helped. As she humbled herself greatly. But he saw beyond. He saw that if he did this for her, exactly by doing this for her, he would be taking the bread from Israel. And precisely because he just came from Jerusalem, he just came from Israel, he had just been rejected there. He said, since I was rejected there, you know what? I have the whole bread here. Why can't I give the bread to this woman? If they had eaten bread there wouldn't be bread for her. There would be crumbs. Once again rejected. But since they didn't take advantage of the bread that was there, that came down from heaven, my God, people, what passage is this? If you didn't understand yet, I'll say it again. He just multiplied bread for 5,000 people. And after they got our family bread, they disappeared from in front of him. They didn't want to hear the wisdom learn. They didn't want to evolve their consciousness. They didn't want to. They left University X immediately. Learn no. Professor, no. Bread, yes. Healing, yes. Miracle, yes. Interference, yes. Help, yes. Ah, he just saw this. The bread was left over. The bread he multiplied there is the physical one, but the immaterial bread, which is him. The word wisdom was left over. The basket was full of bread, material bread, ethereal bread. So when that woman asks for bread, he doesn't show the bread he has, but the woman knows he has bread. Do you understand? Bread was left over. My God, folks, What a beautiful thing. Matthew 16, the Pharisees and Sadducees approached Jesus to test him again. But Jesus wisely refuted them. Then his students were discussing that they had forgotten to buy the bread. Then the master gives them a lesson. Be concerned with the yeast of the legalistic scribes, those who, in the name of God, want to condemn us, and not with material bread, for they have just witnessed the multiplication of food. Listen to something. Bread, debts, bills, material problems. You will always have them. But if you do not have supreme vigilance against the yeast of the Pharisees of the system, then, yes, you will have debts. Then, yes, you will have real and eternal problems. Understood? Stop worrying about bills, QR code payments, and worry about PICs. Be concerned with the yeast of the system. The continuation of this chapter will be repeated in Mark 8, which is why I will address it later, because the passages are homologous references. And Mark is a student of Peter, so I prefer to talk about it when we get to Mark. Matthew 17, behold the Illuminator 3 and 7. Can you write that down? 3 and 7? Signed after 7 days, when Peter finally saw Jesus as Christ. You know that time when Jesus asks, what do men say that I am? And I won't address this passage now. I'll address it later. What do men say that I am? And wasn't it Peter who said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God? Who was it again? You see? And Peter, do you see why he was chosen? Why he is the chosen? Because he is always the first. First to jump out of the boat. First to have courage. First to recognize. He is always the first. He manifested in the apprentice. Here, it's incredible. A revelation that is not in the Bible of Nicolaus is that exactly 7 days. There it says 6, but counting the day 7 days. After Peter recognized him as the Son of God, Jesus confirmed, because Jesus thought like this now. They are ready. They understood that I am the Messiah. But wait a minute. When Jesus got into the boat with Peter, he walked on water. Hadn't they already said, we see that he is the Son of God? Folks, if I stay here, I'll go until midnight. Listen to this. Peter and Jesus get into the boat. They all say, truly you are the Son of God. The God who searches intentions. Say it, the God who searches intentions. God who searches intentions. He did not recognize that. It's just lips. Isaiah said, it's just lips. The heart isn't there. It's just lips. That's why it doesn't matter to praise, sing trio, quartet, sextet, sing with playback, without playback, orchestra, band, play, praise, praise God, just lips. Because they said, truly you are the Son of God. But they said that because it was easy. Seeing Jesus walking on water, it's easy. It's easy. And that praise was useless. But now when he asks, who do you think I am? That Peter says, you are the Son of God. There was no miracle, no walking on water. It was from the heart. It was genuine. It was genuine. It was from love. It was pure. It was pure. It was genuine. Then when Jesus saw it was pure, genuine, 7 days later, Jesus accepts that praise from Peter's mouth purely. 7 days later, exactly 7 days later, he takes them to the high mountain to give them not just a great lesson, a privilege. And it's interesting because it's the acquired privilege. Do you see when are the times that God gives us great things? When purity, perpetual of heart, purity. That praise of Exochrist was true. It was genuine. Do you understand? Now they were ready. Who does he call? 3 men, delta, men. Look at the triangle, Peter, James, and John on a high mountain. Isn't the mountain already high? If it's high, it's another triangle. The mountain is a triangle, and there are 3 triangle men in front of 3 other men. And who appears? Jesus, Moses, and Elijah all shining like the sun, and their radiant clothes became white as light. Didn't I tell you to remember Moses and Elijah at the beginning? And look who appears here. First, here is the entire Tanakh, which is the Old Testament. This so-called Old Testament of your Bible is an ancient contract, which is understood in the persons of Elijah, the prophet, and Moses. Law, Torah. Now, John the Baptist is Elijah, and Jesus is Moses, to establish a new one, Brit Radhacha, to establish a new testament, a new contract, just as it was. So you know, it's a triangle. There are 3 contracts. First contract, Moses and Elijah. Second contract, Jesus and John the Baptist. And third contract, they are coming. Revelation 11. In our days, do you understand or not? They are coming. A third testament will begin soon. That every time they are together here on earth creates a new Bible. A new Bible is coming. Between 2030 and 2040, they will be there at the forefront of the third time, isn't it? What a brilliant hexagram. 3 men in human scrutiny and 3 already divinized. Why is Jesus divinized? Because he is homo. Yos. Who is he? Jesus. And the Shua, who came to save Jesus, the Christ, and he is transfigured. What is transfigured? He was divinized before their eyes. And then, subsequently, the 10 Elijahs appeared, to which Peter says, who says, again, who says, who opens their mouth? Peter, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah, because what he was feeling was very pleasant. I will explain it to you. Do you still have a problem with my ring? Holy Trinity, is there a problem? Haven't understood yet? Here, look. Our Lady of Aparecida, religion, faith. It's all here. I will explain the ring. Why is the ring everything? Why is this symbol everything? Where are they? A plate. High mountain. How many there? 3. Peter, James, and John. And in front of them, there are 3. Jesus, Moses, Elijah. Now Peter is saying to make 3 tents. Who makes a tent? What is the shape of a tent? There are only triangles here. There is only God's signature here. Reveal? It is necessary. It is necessary. It is necessary. It is not Jesus who chooses Peter as the leader. It is he who reveals himself and chooses himself. See his leadership, always in every act, in a Christ-like apprentice. Signature 337. A UFO cloud of light enveloped them, and a voice said, "This is my messenger to men." But who hears this voice? Only the 3. Hearing this, the disciples fell face down to the ground and were terrified. Why, when they recognized him as the Son of God after walking on water, did they not have this privilege? Because it was not true. Why only after Peter recognized him as the Son of God did they have this privilege? Because they were ready. And why wasn't this done from the beginning? Because you didn't buy their faith. God does not interfere to buy anyone's faith. Understood? The revelations only come after you believe. But Jesus approached, touched them, and said, "Get up, don't be afraid." Lifting their eyes, they saw no one except Jesus. Then, as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus commanded, "Do not tell anyone what you have seen." Is it to tell? Is it to speak? Until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead. In other words, the school, the formation of the University of Exodus ends when I rise from the dead. Reveal. We have something that we just don't feel. Keep a secret. Say it. Write it down. Keep a secret. Remember the old lesson where I talked about the 3 S's? One of the 3 S's is to keep. Keep a secret. Reveal at the right time. Solomonic Freemasonry does not have 3 phases. Discreet, First secret, then discreet, then open. That's always how God did it. So, what does this brother, this pastor, this leader, this teacher, I don't know, I'm watching now, the first time talking about Freemasonry? See the construction of things. Soon it comes down here. You are a Mason. You never understand. Another school lesson is approaching. Upon descending from the mountain, his students are unable to help a schizophrenic boy who is throwing himself into the fire. The Bible calls him a lunatic. The schizophrenia was already there, either in the water or in the fire. Jesus says that his students couldn't perform the sign. They couldn't free him from his psychiatric condition because they didn't believe that they were truly capable of doing like their teacher. To survive, they didn't have faith. What is faith? They didn't have faith in themselves. They didn't believe they would be able to do what Jesus did. Lack faith in themselves. Because it's one thing to have faith in your teacher. My teacher does it. It's already difficult to trust the teacher. It's another thing to trust the teacher, knowing that your teacher was so good that he trained you and that you can do what he does. It's even harder to have faith to do what your teacher does. That is, to believe in Jesus so much that even when Jesus is not there, he is. See that the Holy Spirit hadn't descended, metaphor, poetry, but was already there. Because I don't know if you understood, Jesus comes down from the mountain with them, the three of them, and he tells the three, silence, keep it a secret, only tell later, yes or no? He is already injecting the Holy Bible. Why? What is he saying? If it's to speak after the resurrection, he is already asking to make a Bible. If he is saying, tell what you saw in the world of transfiguration, later, it's because he is already saying, make a Bible. It's not a mistake. Record this for all times. So, is the Bible or is it not the will of Christ? It is the will of Jesus. It's just that he knew about the adulterations, the interpolations, the problems. Now let's go. When Jesus comes down with the three and meets the others are down there. The others join and the three remain silent. Then, Jesus, intentionally, as always, a teacher teaches more in absence sometimes than in presence. He absents himself on purpose, as a good master always does. He absents himself on purpose, and he absented himself, so that they would make mistakes. What did they get wrong? They don't trust him in his absence, they trust him in his presence. See what original faith is. Original faith in something, in someone, in Jesus, actually needs to be transcendent to the point of going from presence to absence. You have to believe so much that it transcends, that it goes from flesh to light, from flesh to spirit. Do you understand or not? It's easy to believe when Jesus is there and knows what to do. I want to see you know how to believe in the middle of a square, when the eagle is not there, when Jesus is not there, when the Spirit has to be there. To do what needs to be done, as if it were there and it is. What is Spirit? Legacy, dossier. Did you forget? What is Spirit? The legacy, the dossier, the teaching, the formation. Then, Jesus healed that boy, the child who became healthy, immediately. And then I revealed in the Bible of Nalkas that the expression only comes out through fasting and prayer. It was an interpolation by mystical scribes. Later, because this interpolation is still used today, you see, there are types of demons that only come out with fasting and prayer, and they stay there without eating, praying, and their whole life is disorganized. If fasting and prayer expel the houses of demons, your life wouldn't be as it is, right? Rent overdue. Difficulty paying bills, child on drugs. Isn't that the reality of a church of God in love? I know what I'm talking about. I lived it. I experienced it. Isn't that the reality of a CCB church? Isn't that the reality of many churches that expel demons? That claim to expel demons? Go there and see. Child on drugs, lost children. Life all messed up, full of debts. Because they make wrong choices, because they never had education. Then they pay the consequences. That's it. What I'm saying is that if life were made of fasting and prayer, it would work, interpolation. So, the members of Deus Ex Agora, for example, who are the ones who fast the most in the world, would be the most prosperous and righteous people in life. The whole church is there divided, destroyed, and finished. involved in various conflicts. Why? Because it's not about not eating, my child. That's an interpolation. But why did God allow this text to appear in the Bible, Winston? Exactly to give rise to these denominations with misconceptions. Exactly to create new classes of Pharisees. Exactly so that the Pharisaic class never dies. Exactly so that groups always emerge saying, it's in the Bible. And so history repeats itself. Again, the biblical Pharisees came to incriminate Jesus because they didn't pay the proper taxes. My God in heaven doesn't wash his hands, eats on the Sabbath, doesn't pay taxes, right? So, to silence them, he asked Peter to fetch the money. Who is asking? Jesus. Asking whom? Peter. Why is he asking Peter? Because he has already shown himself to be a leader. Remembering that, at that time, 2 taxes went to Caesar, who remembers Rome, and 2 taxes went to the religious system of the time. Israel is revealed in the Bible of Nalcas. Matthew 18, Jesus, seeing that they still desired power and titles, said, holding a child, with regard to forgiving, loving, or uniting, be like children. Know how to forget and erase your grievances, like children, as if nothing had happened. Peter then says, all right, like a child, but how many times? 7? Jesus teaches for the kingdom, actually, 70 times 7, that's the original. 72, why? Because 7 and 72. It's the number of completeness of infinity of the loop eternal of the X forever. He then spoke about the metaphor of the 100 sheep, which we will address when we get to Luke. Original, because there we have the triad of the drachma, the sheep, and the prodigal. Better addressed. Once again, the Pharisees in Matthew 19, wanting to incriminate Jesus, ask about divorce. Now, the subject is divorce. Jesus counters their legalism, making it clear that if someone is unfaithful, they never loved. That is adultery. And it has already dissolved the marriage, because marriage is love. Including the Old Testament citation by Jesus that what God has joined, because marriage is love, it cannot end, love doesn't change, it doesn't end. One day I loved, then I didn't love, it was revealed, never loved. Also the great maxim of Jesus. Because the two come together, unite, and become one flesh, one flesh. It is impossible to separate a united flesh. It's already difficult to unite two into one flesh. But if that were possible, and there's science today trying to do these things, at the moment of transfusion, the transplant, the union of bodies, it wouldn't go back. Separate, it doesn't separate anymore. Unite, unite. But separate, it doesn't separate anymore. So, a true marriage doesn't separate anymore? Then, a young man faithful to his church, to the synagogue, says, Professor Jesus. Good Professor Jesus. First, he starts by saying good, right? In an irony, Jesus, seeing the intention, which wasn't good, said, truly good is the Father, the Christ from the Old Testament, Jehovah and Jehovah. Why is Jehovah good? Because Jehovah killed 3 million Hebrews during the desert crossing. Obviously, he's not that good. He is dual. Just read Deuteronomy 28 in its entirety. He kills. He inflicts hemorrhoids on those who do not obey. Legacy of Deuteronomy 28. Are you afraid? So, when he says, good master, he responds by saying, good master, my God of the Old Testament. He's being ironic. Did you catch the irony? Because he saw that it wasn't true. Then, seeing that Jesus was attached to material things, he challenged, since you obey the whole Bible. And what doesn't cost you, isn't worth anything to you, so sell your possessions and help those who really need it. It's not exactly about distributing to the poor, it's the challenge. Help those in need. The young man went away sad and failed the challenge. What? Reveal.
So, this is Jesus, the Christ, with a dynamic, specific, different approach. Look, it's relative.
And, at the same time, dually, essentially, absolute. But how can it be relative and absolute? Because, in essence, it is absolute, in application, it is relative. What do you mean? Because you will see many other people asking the same thing as this rich young man. We know him as such, the rich young man. You will see many people asking the same question he did, and the answer being different. But how is the answer different? Doesn't Jesus have a creed? Doesn't Jesus have a code, a protocol, a Vatican II, a compendium? A record? Doesn't he? He doesn't. He doesn't have a constitution. What he has is the intention, which is dynamic, relative, and at the same time, absolute. It depends on who, which heart, which intention. The intention of the rich young man was not necessarily pure. And because it wasn't pure, even though he was obedient, faithful to what he believed, he was scrutinized and rejected. But others would ask, including the rich, and he wouldn't say, sell everything. Did he say sell everything to Jairus? Jairus was rich. Did he say sell everything to Jose? Jose was rich. Did he say sell everything to Susanna, Joanna, Magdalene? Did he say sell everything to Nicodemus? Why did he say it only to him? The same question asked by 72 people, 72 different answers. Because the doctor only prescribes what you need. These were chapters 11 to 19 from the original Matthew. You have to watch it again until it sticks. To stick is to understand. To understand is to be able to pass it on to others, to share the bread. As long as you can't, in the absence of the Achaean, explain to others as the Achaean would, it's because you still haven't understood. In 1260 days of Jesus, the mission of the sent ones, emissaries. Because Paul